Here's my podcast for short tack number one from 5-3, and let's get the action started. I'm positioned a little bit far to the back because I don't really think that I'm going to be competitive since I'm on the Enduro bike today. Notice we have celebrity in the house, James Bethia over there. He's the black guy over on the right with the blue helmet. He's riding for Niner these days, and he's going to pretty much check out on this one. And it's go time. And I am throwing down some horsepower here. And I can see Anna there in the gray. I believe she's a pro for sugar beets, and it's probably her second workout of the day, coming in here to mix it up with the people. So this is the expert group, and I'm having a good time so far, kind of sitting in. This is the pinch point, and I don't like to be caught in some of the melee. And that quick little display there shows I'm pretty much in last place, but that's okay. Ramming and thumping through the field. The Enduro bike is just having a good time here. And I should mention that I've got the fork and shock fully locked out, or as locked out as you can with the shock on the Enduro bike. It's a Fox with the Pro pedal, which has been modified by push, so it handles a lot better. So I'm doing okay, and I think maybe that's RJ Morris. I don't so, but anyway, he kind of gaps me off a little bit here, and I'm like, "What are you doing, dude?" I'm like, "I want to be up here." Like, there's draft up here. So I throw down a little bit of horsepower to try to catch up a little bit. Little I know it's a lot of wasted energy. So I'm sitting in. Looks like I'm pretty far back, but because of how technical the terrain is, it's fine to be back here. There are tons of bottlenecks, and if you really want to be competitive in this one, you need to be up front because everyone slows down, and it probably wasn't even worth it to even stay this close to the pack, as we will find out later. But I'm flowing pretty well. My legs were screaming as I really wasn't feeling all that good. I'd done some weights the other day, and my legs hadn't totally recovered. I was kind of doing this as a tune-up for the Fandango mountain bike race in Bailey that will be coming up in a couple of days. And you can see people here are flying, and the gaps are starting to open up a little bit. As I stated before, it's okay to be way back here as far as flow, and here's one of the pinch points. They added a lot of new technical stuff to this course, and as you can see, people were caught off guard and had to run this. So I just backed off so I could just ride it. Looking off in the distance, you can see how far ahead people are, and that little debacle right there cost us a lot of time. I'm okay with it because I'm not looking to be competitive on this one, and I am drifting back a little ways. My strategy here is to let things settle out so I can start to flow and then get a little bit of practice with the bike handling because the twisties in this course demand a lot of precision. Weighting of the front wheel, weighting of the rear wheel, and trying to basically hold momentum through this course. As this is one of those courses where it's accelerate on, accelerate off, and hold your momentum when you can. So I'm back here following Anna, and she's doing a pretty good job. And unfortunately, because of all the bottlenecks up front, we're getting pushed behind, despite the fact that we're actually keeping up a reasonable pace here. As you can see, it is pretty twisty in those little sections, and the camera really doesn't show how loose some of that sand can be. I did notice that they did amp up one of the areas and add a berm, which is nice. And it would have been nice to see how fast the big men go through here. Maybe sometime I will film some of the open group just for grins, or actually even participate. Hanging in here, and you can see the gaps have opened, and there are the spectators in this area, and there's some cheering going on, I'm certain, somewhere in here. Following on as she gets out of the saddle, and at this point, I am starting to feel my rhythm here. And I'm pushing a lot of horsepower up this little rise. It didn't really show it, but I came really close to her. This is a little step down. Glad I had my dropper. Doesn't look that bad in the video, but you could easily hurt yourself by going over the bars or washing out your front. This is one of the sections that definitely strings people out. And if you are not up at the front, it's pretty much game over unless you're super strong. It is a 4 lap race, I believe, so there is time to catch up if you can flow these properly. Going down through this section, getting used to the bike here, checking out the course, as I had not ridden the course in preview. I was chatting with a young lady who was riding for, I think, First City team, and she had a cross bike. She had done this course, and she mentioned how technical it was compared to the previous years. And I must admit, I am really happy to have gotten her heads up on this one because I was not prepared for the changes that they had put in this year. I love the changes. It's definitely a mountain biking course. It would be fun to see if I could even do this on a cross bike. That's a steep little step down. And we're coming up to these little whoops where you really want to hold your momentum. And if you can't hold your momentum through here, this is where the big men check out. Following on and down through here, there's a little area. You could catch air over this one. She catches a little bit. I try to launch a little bit. The camera kind of smooths things out, so you really can't see what I'm doing. But there was air to be caught. Not a whole lot. Here's the area where flow is important. And in previous years, I liked to try to follow people's lines through here to see if I could learn something and improve something. At this point, I'm happy to be behind Anna. She's doing a pretty good job flowing all through this, and I'm making my little accelerations trying to keep her in check. Nice little area here, starting to stretch out. This was a hairy little area. It didn't look that bad, but it caused some people to slow down. I love the way these trees kind of twist and turn. Not certain why that gentleman stopped, but looks like there was some sort of mechanical. And it's interesting how quickly this course strings out to where you really can't see anybody because of the ability of some of the riders up front to be able to flow this course and hold their momentum. If you really think about it, every time you hit the brakes, that's watts being bled off. All of that horsepower, all that wattage that you put down to the pedals now being thrown away every time you hit the brakes. Now we're able to stretch it out a little bit, and this is where the really fast riders can get some advantage. They can just go really fast here, and I think this is when I probably thought I would try to pass Anna and see if I could make this one stick. I believe the gentleman behind her, he might be in the next race. I think he was riding single speed or something, but he was moving really well. I hadn't really looked at what was behind. I passed on, and this is like my first chance getting a look to see how well I was actually even able to make that stick and to see if I was actually making any ground here. Really nice the way the new course flows. Lots of spectators here, lots of cheering, and as you can see, what looks like nuclear reactors back there, those are probably grain stuff for like New Belgium. Up the little grade here, and I believe this is in fact the first lap. Well, it is the start finish line. It's not actually the full lap because we haven't gotten past the start finish line yet. This is a pretty cool area. Got the photographer here. Some of the young guys were like skying that little area, throwing little whips, etc. Would have been cool to actually follow those guys through there, or at some point, I think I need to come back, bring my SLR, and catch some of the local talent and hone my sports photography skills. Here's the backstretch where the big men pass if they can, and lots of wattage is put down. My bike rolls pretty well here, and I had thought about racing the Cannondale with the 650Bs as it accelerates really well, but there's nothing as smooth as the big 2.4s on the Enduro bike where pretty much, even though I locked out the suspension the entire time, it was a really smooth ride. And at no point in the race did I think, oh, it would have been nice to lock out that suspension. And I've noticed like a lot of people on this course leave their suspension undone. There's watts being just given away if you are doing that. I noticed like the pro racers maybe can do that because they have enough horsepower and they want to use the suspension to their advantage. But for a lot of us, it's a lot better just to keep that thing locked out and save the wattage. So here's single speed guy behind me, and he's actually really fast. I'm impressed. I should have asked what gear he had because at some point I would like to bring my single speed back to this course and try my hand. I had done that in previous years, but well, only once. But what I had noticed is on that backstretch that we just passed, I lost a lot of ground because the gear I had was a lot lighter than whatever this gentleman has. If I could pick the right gear and I could push that right gear all the way around, I think that would just be fun. And of course, racing the single speed, it's a different feeling. You don't have to think, you just pedal. And it makes you focus on flow because you can't really use a lot of gear shifting to give you momentum on some of the climbs. This gentleman seems to be pretty happy behind me at this point, and it's nice that he's there. He's kind of keeping me honest. I can kind of hear him back there, and at some point he gave me some encouragement, which is kind of cool to have the competitors like cheer you on. I think he said something about I had a reasonable pace. Here we go through some of the tricky part again. It's interesting to see the reverse flow on this. And honestly, even when like editing the video, because of the way the video tracking software works, it's nice when you have someone behind because you can just tell the software track that person, which is what I did there. Really cool feature, which makes this one of my favorite cameras to use over the GoPro because you can get such an interesting view of like what's going on heading into these twisty little mounds here. At some point, I should bring the cyclocross bike out and try that, but today it's enduro bike time. So the first lap has been, in fact, completed. So I think what I'm gonna do here is probably just like shut up for a while and let you enjoy the video. And there's 2 laps on that one. So I think, as we can see, oh yeah, that's pretty cool there. Gentleman catches a little bit of air, and someone back there. I definitely like this reverse view. I'm enjoying this. So we'll just let this one run for a while. Down the backstretch. Here we go. And at some point, this gentleman, I believe, does pass me, like spinning whatever gear. Yeah, didn't know what he said, but he's going after someone. Like, look at that cadence. That's impressive. And he definitely checks out. Clearly, he was being patient with me, or maybe he was just saving it until like a lap or so to go, and then he was gonna just hit it hard. At this point, I wasn't feeling like I was that strong on this part of the lap. Although I must say, this is really my first mountain bike race of the year, for that matter. So just getting my chops back, and I hadn't even done that many bike rides, at least far as mountain bike rides. Looking forward to getting back and doing one of the other short tracks. Yeah, I'm not certain if these other guys are racing or whatever. probably just practicing out there. The guy on the unicycle, he kind of held me up a tiny bit, because I really wanted to go blasting through here, but I wasn't gonna get any podium or even top 15, so it didn't really matter that much. Cool that he's got that kind of skill